I'm Mike Barker, and I'm here with Bruce McDow today. Bruce, thanks for having me here. Thanks for the boat tour the other day.
Oh.
That was super. We got some great shots of that. Was a little dreary out, but beautiful, beautiful property. And our tour guide, Tony, he was on his game.
Tony's a great guy.
If he's any indication of the kind of community that's here, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, he has a real passion for this location. Him and his whole family, they just absolutely love it here.
Is that the kind of personality that you see here, like the outdoor enthusiast?
Most of the people here are very like-minded. I've been in this industry now for almost half a century, and they seem to attract a common type of individual. People that want privacy, want community, want nature. They're the type of people that if you have a problem, or if you have an issue, or if you need a lift with something, or if you need a hand with something, the neighbor is always there to help you. They're just good neighbors, and they're there to help out whenever you need something. That's what living in this community is like.
What are the top three things that you would pitch to someone who is looking to live in the Long Lake area?
The top three things.
Top three.
Well, one of the most important things that people always consider before purchasing a property like this is location.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, real estate is location, location, location.
Absolutely.
So people today want to be close to conveniences. They don't want them necessarily right next door, but they want them within a reasonable distance. Usually the general rule of thumb is they like to be within a half an hour of shopping and hospitals and conveniences. This location fits very nicely into that desire, I guess.
Desire, sure.
Because, I mean, we're only 20 minutes from Bedford, 15 minutes from Sackville. That's the first thing, location. Mm-hmm. Secondly...
Can I ask, before you move to the second
Sure.
one, can I ask, how far is it to the airport from here?
That's interesting. Right now, it's about 30 to 35 minutes.
Okay.
I would say closer to 30, but when they do the new extension from the new 101 Middle Sackville interchange, that extension is going to go from Middle Sackville and it'll come out at the airport industrial park. But when that happens, then we'll only be roughly 10 to 15 minutes from the airport.
Wow.
So we're kind of looking forward to that to come together over the next few years.
Great.
So anyway, first is location, second is environment. People like to come to a place like this, again, for privacy, for the lake and the water sports and the fishing and the wildlife and all the recreational advantages that brings to people to enjoy. Mm-hmm. So that's the second thing. And probably the third thing is the privacy. Your properties are very private, but they're not secluded. And when I say secluded, or I mean isolated. Mm-hmm. A lot of city dwellers like to go to the country, but they still want to know that there's neighbors close by. I remember many years ago, we were developing a property, and I had a client in from Toronto, and she drove through this area, and there was no houses at that point. And she said, I could never live in a place like that. It's the wilderness. So anyway, people do like to know that there's neighbors not too far away. And that's the three. I'm
going to interrupt you again, but
Sure.
I found that the houses that have been built so far are very nicely spaced apart. Like, you are not in your neighbor's backyard.
Well, the density
enough.
factor here, I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that the properties are on average an acre or more. But anyway.
Great. So we've got location was number one.
Yes.
Number two was?
The environment. In other words,
Yep.
what the lake has to offer, the wildlife.
Yep.
And third is privacy.
We saw signs of all kinds of wildlife when we were out on the boat too. I think we saw numerous loons. We saw the
all the time.
The bird watching here would be incredible. Tony said there's signs of mainland moose at times. I don't know if anyone's seen them, but he said there's definitely signs of them around. And I think we saw signs of,
Oh, there's all kinds
bear,
of wildlife.
deer, everything.
I've lived in Nova Scotia most of my life and in rural areas, and I've only ever seen 2 bobcats in my entire life, and one of them I saw just about 500 feet from here about 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
It was amazing. I mean, they're such a beautiful animal.
And Tony
You
said
just never see them.
Tony said if you're an angler, it's a pretty good lake to be an angler on right now.
Well, I'm not a fisherman, but anyway, if you're a fisherman, I'm told it's pretty good.
We'll go with what Tony said. The area that Village 1, Village 2, Long Lake, and
Meek Arm Cove.
Meek Arm Cove, there's a lot of landmass. Like when you turn off the highway here, you drive quite a ways and into nature. Is there any plan for any kind of commercial development at this end, or like is there anything set aside for that, like a convenience store or anything like that?
We've had a considerable amount of inquiries from entrepreneurs that are interested in setting up things like a convenience store. That's been one of the first things people ask about.
Sure.
We've actually set aside 6 properties just in the road a little ways. They're set aside for commercial space. We also have property we've deeded to the fire department to set up a substation.
Oh, really?
I suspect as the community grows and as there are more full-time residents here, there will get to the point where someone will open a convenience store,
Right.
and perhaps even a gas bar or whatever. But as more people live here, an entrepreneur is going to want to service the people that are here.
Absolutely.
And I expect that will happen in time. And I could cite many examples over the years of 50 some other communities that we have developed. Convenience stores have struggled, but when we came into the area and created these communities, the industry in the area have thrived.
Okay.
And I expect this will be the same.
So I've seen on the website the tiny house. Tiny home movement, the
Tiny homes
minimalist
for tiny
movement.
budgets.
Yes. So can you tell me a little bit about that? I saw there's an example of one of them that's been built down there now.
Yes.
It's been sold. Folks are in there right now.
Actually, we've been building tiny homes for 45 years. Only years ago, we called them camps, cottages, whatever name you want to apply to them.
Sure.
But a few years ago, there was so much demand and so much press about tiny homes, we decided to put together a portfolio of various sized tiny homes ranging from very tiny 320 square feet to, I think the largest one is around 1,100 square feet, but we've got a large variety in the 8 to 900 square foot range, which are just great for couples retiring that don't want to have a lot of house to clean, and they don't want a lot of wasted space and
A lot of wasted time.
and from a budget perspective, I mean, why build this huge house if there's only 1 or 2 people to live in it? I mean, tiny homes are a phenomenon that a very large percentage of our clients today don't want the bigger homes. They want the tiny homes.
Right.
And we're finding that you can do so many interesting things with a small space. You just have to plan what you're doing carefully and make sure that every ounce of space or every square inch of space is being utilized.
So really, you've been an expert in tiny homes since before it was cool to call it a tiny home.
Well, I don't know about an expert. I kind of just think that we've been building tiny homes for many, many, many years, but we didn't call them tiny homes at the time.
Right.
But that seems to be what we refer to them as these days.
That's actually a good segue. So how many years have you been building? How many years has Cottage Country been in operation?
Cottage Country's been in operation for 47 years. My background, my family was in the sawmill and lumber business for a couple of 100 years since our family settled in Nova Scotia in 1816. When I was a very young boy, I used to hang around in my grandfather's workshop, and he used to show me how he'd make windows and furniture, and of course he always let me think I was helping him. I was actually just in his way. My background in carpentry and building really, it's in the family, and it's been in our family for centuries.
That's great. That's great. There you go. That's the story behind Cottage Country. Bruce, I'd really like to thank you for talking to me today.
Come on.
This was great. And for the boat trip, too. The boat trip was great. But yeah.
Well, you'll have the opportunity maybe to thank Tony someday for that.
I would very much enjoy that.
Anyway,
that's it for us today. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, Cottage Country. See you later.
sayonara.
Sayonara.